The Ash, Lutzi and Nikki Osborne podcast.
Now, this is pretty special. We've been talking about the Super Bowl, which is going to be on Monday morning our time.
Oh, like when we're on air or just after?
Well, normally we'll
get
just
the
come off air and then the Super Bowl will start. So it's kind of perfect timing, really, like 9 a.m. Monday morning.
And we will have a list of places you can go and check it out and watch it because it's getting bigger and bigger in Brisbane.
Yeah.
It's like venues, like people are rocking out through the day. Like it's one of the biggest days. I've had some of my biggest days of the year on Super Bowl Monday at certain venues around Brisbane. And the great news is we've got a connection, Australian connection this year, a real Australian connection.
A slice of history because the Philadelphia Eagles, we're all going for the Eagles, okay? They're up against Kansas City. Kansas City have had their moment. They've won it before, but the Philadelphia Eagles has got Jordan Mailata, who we've spoken about. He's on this huge NFL contract, but he used to play footy for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and then he had to give it up because he was too big.
Imagine giving up something because you're too big.
Yeah, too big to play the sport. Just let it go, Lutzi. But when Jordan was in high school,
Yes.
his PE teacher was a man by the name of Kieran Frappell, and he joins us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Frappell. Is that the way you normally get it at school,
Or is it
mate?
Frappell?
It's Frappell, but
It's Frappell,
a lot
you
of the
idiot.
kids do it your way.
Yeah, but
How
you
are
know,
you?
you would have been the kind of kid who would have called him Frappell just out of
Hey,
spite.
Frappell.
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 What's up, Frappell?
It's Frappell.
So where was this? Where were you teaching when Jordan was a student?
Mate, I'm still there. Same place, Condell Park High School in Bankstown in southwest Sydney. And, Jordan came through high school with us, many years ago. Finished in 2014.
Oh, so it's not that long ago. It was 11 years ago he was a student at your school, and now he's on the biggest stage that the NFL has to offer. I guess there's no way back then that you could sort of chart a course to go, this bloke's going to play in a Super Bowl, let alone two at the NFL. But what type of student was he? Was he a big unit? Did he play footy? Was he a nice kid?
Mate, he was, a bit of everything that you've just mentioned.
Well, that
He
was
a-
7 questions.
He was a giant. Yeah, he was a freak. In the good way, he's just the biggest kid you'd ever met, but physically athletic, so he could surprise you. He was a giant. He'd have to duck his head to get in the door to your classroom, but he could move. So if you played any sport in PE or at sport, he could grab an intercept and run 60 metres without anyone catching him.
Now, did you see promise early? Were you like his mentor at school? You know, there's always that teacher who gets you through and says, you've got promise, son. Were you that person?
I definitely, was involved in some of his sport, even athletics-wise. I used to coach him a little bit in shot put, but he had quite a few. He had his year advisor that spent a lot of time with him as well. He had quite a few teachers here that were very supportive of him. But he played footy for the school. He was a beast playing rugby league for the school. I got memories of him playing on our school oval, running 60 metres with 4 or 5 guys on his back. They just couldn't bring him down. He was a monster.
So,
and,
Bankstown's obviously rugby league central, and presumably you would have had a bunch of players come through Condell and surrounding areas that, were potential NRL players. I mean, where did he sit on the spectrum of that? Like, was he...
Oh, he was right up there. His brother before him, he had an older brother. He 4 boys in the family, and he had 2 older brothers, and the one above him was a Bulldogs junior and showed a lot of promise. And then Jordan came through after him, and he was a foot taller than the other brher who was a giant.
Wow.
And,
it's Venus
and
and
he was,
Serena.
he was recognised pretty early that, his size and his talent, his athletic ability. So he was a Bulldogs junior. So you knew from an early age, you knew coming through high school that this kid had something. Always felt he had something. Like, did I think he'd end up in the NFL? No way. But I thought he'd play possibly first grade rugby league, and I thought he just had to get in the right system. I heard you mention before that they said he was too big for league. I don't know. I thought that in the right place. I thought if he got down to Melbourne under Bellamy or something like that, which there was talk of, that he could turn him into anything. So
what was his weight back at school? Because they're saying at the moment, did you say Mitchie's like 150 kilo now, or even more? Like what's his weight now? And what was he when he was in like grade 12?
Oh, look, he would have been. He surely been 140s. He was already a big boy, mate. He was a giant then. So, yeah.
Geez, I bet he
Obviously now with the strength training they've got him doing, I've seen the video. You can see that he's filled out, but he was always the biggest human I'd ever seen.
He might have been that croc sighting. He might have just had a swim at inskip.
I bet he regrets not sticking with the shot put.
Oh, mate, honestly, he was.
He would have been a gun, right?
Mate, he was a gun. He was a gun without any before I'd even trained him, he was launching it, and then we did a little bit of training at lunchtimes after schools, and he won medals at state.
Is that right?
He got invited in year 11 to go over to Canada, America, on like an athletics tour, which we fundraise for. He's year advisor from school. Wow. Did a lot of work there, fundraising, so that he could go, and that I think that maybe opened his eyes to
America.
To what else is outside of our little, what we know in Bankstown.
So it's not like it's a wealthy family that he came from. Is it a very
not at all, mate. We're a lower socioeconomic area, and definitely not a wealthy family. So, mate, he's been able to change his and his family's lives and trajectory for sure through his talent.
When you said that, we were talking the other day. Because they were saying that he's on like 30 mil or something like that US a year.
Oh,
a year.
Word.
And the NRL salary cap for a team is like, what's it at now, Mitch? $13 or $14 million or something like that. So, like,
well, no wonder he buggered off. I would too.
He's worth more than like two NRL clubs combined, which is just...
and he'll get another contract too. He's rated, one of the top left tackles in the game, which is, it's such an important position. He's protecting the quarterback. His next contract, he's going to go again. Like he'll absolutely clean up on his next contract.
Oh, mate, I hope he comes back. How good would that be if they win on Monday morning? He comes back to the old school and
mate,
special
that'd
assembly.
Be awesome. That'd be awesome. Actually, they did a fan day here late last year where he came out. He was back in Sydney, and they did a fan day down at the local footy club. And I know a couple of the teachers went down. I had some and I couldn't get there, but it was a shame. I would have loved to have caught up with him and seen him. But you can't. They need to make a movie out of it because you can't write it.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Jordan Mailata, and we've been talking to his high school teacher, Kieran Frappell. Mr. Frappell from Condell Park High School, and you'll be able to watch the Eagles take on the Kansas City Chiefs live on Channel 7, mate, and stream it on 7+.
We'll be watching it at school? I guess you have to watch it at school.
At 9:30.
Kieran.
Yeah, mate, we'll be watching it at school, mate. We did it 2 years ago when he made the Super Bowl. We got all the seniors into the hall and we watched it together for the whole day, and then all the juniors will be watching it in their rooms. And
outstanding,
mate. It was a cracker day last time, and hopefully this year he gets the win, and we'll keep celebrating after.
Unreal. Thanks, mate, for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
The Ash, Lutzi and Nikki Osborne podcast.